coming out of that really tough condition last time out. Dodd's Private Label was just much the best in that event. The 3 hand-picked is a horse that I'll be using for Stanley Gold. Was 19-1 last time out and kind of didn't get the trip until in the late stages there. Was well beaten by the winner, but again, second off the freshening here, I think could maybe run well at a price and is coming out of that open $10,000 condition.
Yeah, and that was a dominant winner to take time to pray that afternoon. That was, you mentioned, $10,000 level, so we're going to try the $6,250 claim is second off the bench. I think this horse can run okay in the spot, and both of us, wow, look at this, we're in total agreement also with the number 4, Keed Cachet.
Yes, Keed Cachet, I think, is a horse that just keeps improving off the layoff. Again, was off from July to October, but you see even the Beyer speed figures keep improving. Last time out was lightly steadied in the late stages of the race. Again, I do think that if this horse can maybe take even one more step forward, could be put into contention today.
Trained by Jerry Bozzo and ridden by Manny Aguilar. And Jerry Bozzo, what a great story, 94 years young. He's the only guy on the racetrack that calls me kid.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Race 3 on the card, a $6,250,000 dual condition claiming event. 1-turn mile on the main track, and the 7 Starship Lisa is the horse to beat here. She's sitting on back-to-back victories. One of them 13 lengths against Open Company, and the second one there just over 3 lengths. And she's a type of horse that really likes this distance, a 4-time winner at the mile, multiple winner here at Gulfstream. She just looks to be very tough to beat. Can anybody turn the tables on her? You know she's going to be a short price.
It's going to be a very short price, and here she's the only 4-time winner in the field. Because of the conditions in this race, she's allowed to have those multiple wins. So Starship Elisa, the one to beat. I try to do it with the horse I put in second in here, and that's the 4 I Own Inez, making her local return after tracking the pace throughout and finishing third as the favorite in that race in her across-town finale, but across-town I'm being Gulfstream Park West. At this level and distance, the horse can run well in this spot. Was actually way down in the race, was scratched out of that race yesterday, and for this spot today.
Yeah, drew like an outside post position yesterday and now opted for this spot today. And I agree with you. I do think that there's going to be a legitimate amount of early pace. We have the 6 Kick-In, who's stretching out to the mile, who shows speed at sprint distances. We even have the 5 Tormenta d'Oro in here. I think those 2 are going to be the pace setters, and it's going to set up for the second wave of horses. And the 4 I.O. Inez is one of them. And of course, the 7 Starship Lisa is going to be one sitting in the catbird seat too. So I picked the 5 Tormenta d'Oro in the mix, but unfortunately, I think she's going to get caught up in maybe a pace duel with the 6.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you have to decide in your early pick 5. I didn't. I went too deep if you want to single a horse like this. And I can totally understand it because the other races in the sequence a little tougher than this one. So there's where you might go with the single. But if it does not win, boy, what a good payoff you're going to get.
Absolutely. Race 4 here. First level allowance going out to the turf course at 1 1/16. Make the rider Tyler Gaffalione on the 1 Frosty Friday, and the 9 Tennessee Whiskey I think is an intriguing one. And we'll go back and take a look at her last replay. Actually, not her. And we'll get to D in a second. The 4D actually is coming. I went back and watched the replay. That's why I was confused on the 9 Tennessee Whiskey. And I thought it was a really sharp performance last time out at Belmont. You know, she closed from off the pace. She was coming off an April layoff, and we really didn't see a tremendous amount of horses gaining from off the pace. And that's why I'm thinking this track might, and the pace setup might be a little bit more conducive for her running style.
Yeah, I liked it today too. We both have her on top of our tickets, and Christophe Clement 5 for 29 with horses stretching out from a sprint to a route this year. So you know, there's lots of things to like about the number 9 Tennessee Whiskey besides being whiskey.
Exactly. And actually, as you mentioned there, D is coming out of the same race at Belmont, the first level allowance. And that's where I went back, and she just had way too much, ground to make up. Again, this is another filly that was coming off a significant layoff. Really, the top several finishers in the race only made up about a length or 2, including the second place finisher, Le Montaigne, was a pace setter and really dug in gamely. So we saw pace hold very well, and kind of these horses who are closing in that race be at a disadvantage. So we'll go back and take a look at the 4D's replay at Santa Anita. Now this was before the layoff. This was at Santa Anita against Maiden Special Weight Company. And you can see just in this event as well, she's kind of sitting mid-pack. And at the top of the stretch, this is her second start, she just completely fires. She kind of weaves in between horses. She's down on the inside, then weaves out to about the 4 or 5 path, and she kicks clear here once she's finally in the clear. I thought visually this was a very impressive performance, and perhaps this is one that just wants to get to a little bit of a firmer going. I don't know if she's going to get those conditions today, though.
Yeah, that was a pretty nice performance by her. I did not use her on my ticket, today, but certainly off that performance, you have to give it a look. Number 11, Resilient One, is debuting locally for trainer Todd Pletcher after returning from about a 7-month layoff to finish a troubled fourth. If you go back and look at this horse's last race, he was fanned 6 wide at the upper stretch. He was only beaten 2 lengths at this level and distance. It was on the Belmont turf, so he didn't get the best of it when they returned home. He got fanned out there, and I think, and of course, we mentioned this over and over again, Todd just having an exceptional early part of the championship meet, so I threw that one on my ticket.
Yeah, I don't think she necessarily needs to be too far off the pace. You do kind of see the opening fractions, though. They're 25 and 1. They went pretty slow the opening quarter, but I think it was, I don't really know why she was so far back off the pace, but she was reserved. I didn't really see a tremendous amount of kick late, but again, she very well could improve. The connections speak for themselves. I threw in the 12 to Suka here, just kind of as a flyer. She's by Indian Charlie out of a Seeking the Gold mare. She has the speed from the outside to maybe clear and get good position early. Johnny Velasquez is aboard, and she tries the turf for the first time. I kind of like her today.
Morning long favorite in there. I used the number 10 Leading Edge, a grade 3 stakes placed on the Woodbine Poly track. Is going back to the grass after returning from a 4-month plus layoff to get beat 2 lengths as the favorite. It was a race move from the turf to the synthetic surface. I want to show you a stat on Roger Hatfield. A lot of people ask about this. How do you go from synthetic to turf? And there you see the stat, 5 for 33, 15% this year with the horses going from synthetic to turf. So there is reason to believe this horse is going to run well. I like he's got some class, being a grade 3 stake player. She is a grade 3 stakes play, so I threw this one on the ticket. Don't know what she is on the morning line. What is he like? 5 or 8 to 1, whatever it is.
There might be some value in that race there as well, but that is races 1 through 4. The pick 6 does start in race 5. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about the sequence. I have one single today. It's a bold single, so hopefully we can get through the sequence right after this. Welcome back to Gulfstream Park. Gabby Gaudet alongside Ron and Nicoletti, and we're getting into the Rainbow Pick 6, always a very popular wager here at Gulfstream Park, and we do have a carryover of over $26,000 going into the sequence today. Yesterday, it was tough. We had no live tickets going into the final leg, I believe even the final 2 legs.
Yeah, it was after the 9th race. They actually put out a stat that there were no live tickets, just consolation, so it was a tough day, and we'll see. Well, don't forget, we had one horse that paid $166 in that sequence. So
the first race in the sequence, an 80 to 1 shot upsets, and that's kind of been the case as of late. And kind of the interesting horses that are in the 8 to 1 range as well have been showing up that are really easy to overlook, quite honestly. So it pays to be creative in this particular wager. I'm going to be using 4 horses in the first leg of the sequence, so we'll take a look at the sequence now. It's a $72 ticket. 4 horses, the 1, 3, 7, and the 6 as we get to race 6. There's my single, little snip to the inside. I thought she had tremendous amounts of excuse when she debuted on the turf. We'll get to that race in a little bit. Using 3 horses in the 3rd leg, 3 horses in the 4th leg, 4, 5 in race 9, and honestly, race 10, I probably could have clicked the all button if the funds were available. There are horses, I think that race might even, you could go 6 or 7 deep in that last race. So yeah. I stuck with just a couple horses there, but that's where the $72 really comes into play in that final leg of the sequence. We'll talk about the first leg, though. Race 5 does kick us off, 7 furlongs on the main track, 6,250 non-winners of 2 lifetime condition. And the 1, Coquetona, is going to be my top selection. I think, now, you look at her last race at 7 furlongs, and I think that this is a kind of a tricky horse to land on because she's a type of horse that if things don't go her way, she shows speed and then she just completely stops late. But today she gets the 7-pound apprentice in the saddle. She draws the rail. I think she could, if she clears, she could maybe dictate and hopefully not get too much pressure and take the field gate to wire. But I do think things need to set up for her in order to win. So by no means am I 100% set on her. I think you need to cover your bases, especially with the favorite, the 7 Starship Galaxy.
Yeah, and also 7 furlongs, got to break out of the 7 furlong shoot, going up there. So we'll see how that works out there. But ridden by, you mentioned, the 7-pound apprentice, John Cruz. He's the one that rode those 2 monster victories yesterday.
60 to 1, 80 to 1.
60 to 1 and 80 to 1. What a parlay that would have been. So he's riding in great form. I did go with the number 7 in here. Who have in second at Starship Galaxy. Expected to show more in her second race at this 7 furlong distance after following her 1 mile maiden score with a second place finish at the same level in distance. So I like a horse that's seems to like 7 furlongs. So I put this one on top of my ticket, and I'm glad it's one of your horses on the Rainbow Six.
Yeah, it could essentially set up for it once again. They went 22 and 3, 45 and 4 for the half last time out, and she just sat in the perfect position and just couldn't really follow through. That's the only reason why I went against her, thinking that the 1 Coca-Tona might be able to dictate from the rail, but again, it could essentially just set up for her. The 6, Trust Your Intuition, is one I'll be using because of the drop in class alone. She faced starter $12,500 company last time out, $30,000 claimers in the start prior to that. She finally drops down to the bottom, but she did win in debut on a sloppy sealed track against maiden claimers, and I think this is really just her class level.
Yeah, I used her on my ticket. Actually put her in second for all the reasons that you mentioned. Trained by Jenna Antonucci, ridden today by Edgard Zayas. I think a horse that fits very nicely with this level of competition, non-winners of 2, 6,250 claimers. The other horse I used on my ticket was the 8 Samus, stretching out the 7/8 after making a middle move. Flattened out a little bit in that race when finishing 4th behind a repeat winner called Nocturnal Q. Didn't run I think yesterday didn't run as well as we wanted him to, Marcus Vitale. And this is a jockey change today, written today by Eddie Castro.
All right, we'll turn our attention to race 6 on the card, a maiden $16,000 event. 5 furlongs on the turf course here, and this is my single, and I'm a little scared of this single because we never know how the turf is going to play today. A lot of the times, really anything can show up. The one little snip, though, is going to be my top selection, and we'll go back and take a look at this 3-year-old filly's debut performance. Again, this was at Gulfstream Park West, sprinting on the turf at 5 furlongs on the 10th of October, and we're just going to take you through the whole race because, quite frankly, Ron, she had a horrendous trip the whole way around
well,
there.
She broke glass right
there. She broke glass. She did not break well, so she lost her position. Now she kind of speeds up, and a lot of the time that's what you get when you get naturally fast fillies and they don't break well. Then they just, you can't relax them after that, especially at 5 furlongs. She keeps checking down on the inside. She checks really badly right there. She loses her position once again on the rail. And this just continues once again. The rider even sits down in the saddle, almost looks like he loses his irons there. And again, down on the inside rail. And then from there, she actually works out a trip down between the hedges and another horse, and she fires late. She comes with a really impressive late closing run against Starship Muffy. And again, she wasn't meant to win this race. She was 13 to 1. In that particular event. Then she ducks in, and she still is only beaten a neck. So that was a really, really horrendous trip. Out of that performance, they actually stepped her up to the maiden $25,000 level. She was bet to the second choice, 3 to 1 second choice there. And she was beaten by Blame Dixie, who was dropping in class from maiden special weight company at Saratoga. So those are all the reasons why I like her today.
Well, I'm glad I used this one on my late pick 5 ticket. I'm going to show you right now. I did not single this horse, but I certainly used it on my late 5. Went too deep here with the 1 and 3 because I actually picked the 3. Storm and Charlotte on top of my ticket, and you see as we go down. And I was laughing when you were talking about your Rainbow Six ticket because I only went too deep in the final race. So we're thinking a little differently in that race, last race.
Okay.
But I went a little deeper in race number 7 to 14 on the outside is my long shot today. We'll talk about that horse when we get to that race. But there's my $48 ticket. And I guess I'll tell you why I took the 3 over the 1 little snip. But after watching that, I'm thinking exacta box. And that's Storm and Charlotte turning back to 5 furlongs. dropping to this level today. First start since stooling for the lead and weakening in the stretch to finish fifth. It was a key 7.5 furlong maiden special weight race at Gulfstream Park West that produced a pair of next out special weight winners. So this horse is getting some good class relief this afternoon, but little snip, why not?
I could have used her, honestly, if this would be my second horse that I would use. And perhaps even the 5 in here at a price. You're going to get a decent price in her. And this is her third start. Off the layoff, she showed speed at the 2 turns, 7.5 furlongs at Gulfstream Park West. And the mile, I think she's just maybe a 1-turn sprinter, and she cuts back to that distance today.
Yeah, and scratch the 7 and 15 in there. If you, Larry Comos will be updating you all those scratches in just a few minutes.
Exactly. Race 7, maiden special weight, 7.5 furlongs on the turf course here. And the 2, Fabulous Devotion, is going to be my top selection here for trainer Ralph Nick. She was the beaten favorite last time out, but this will be her third start off the layoff, and she's obviously acclimated to South Florida here in the past few starts. Javier Castellano in the saddle. She looks to be pretty tough in here.
Yeah, I got her on my ticket. I just went a little different. We have to actually have these 2 horses on our ticket in different places. I went with the 8 Lupo's Way, turning back to 7.5 furlongs, returning to the maiden ranks after getting laces, after setting the pace and finishing second. That was in the $100,000 juvenile fillies turf at Gulfstream Park West. Diane Marici, Rafael Hernandez, named to ride, going back against maidens, getting Lasix, lots of things to like there, but Fabulous Devotion, great connections, Ralph Nixon, Javier Castellano.
Yeah, I always like when you see these 2-year-old fillies and they have a lot of speed and they just haven't been able to quite get the distance lately, and they get Lasix and they cut back. So I think that's a great angle. I would definitely not leave her out of your multi-race sequences. The 11 Carrington event is a first-time starter, and I have a statistic here for Christophe Clement's first-time starters, 2-year-old first-time starters on the turf, particularly at Gulfstream. Only 1 for 6 in terms of a win percentage, but if you look at the board and she's at least decent value, I think you should throw her probably into some exotics because he's 4 for 6 in the money. So that's a really interesting set.
Yeah, there it is up there, 4 for 6 in the money with 2-year-old first-time starters, as you mentioned. And I've learned through the years, never leave Christophe Clement out of a turf race here at Gulfstream Park, which I happened to do in this race. I did go with the number 10 Conquest Dynasty. This one is debuting on the turf after ending her campaign up there north of the border with a second-place finish. That was against Ontario-bred maidens going a mile in the 16th. Mark Cassio stat out there, 7 for 63, 11% with horses going from the synthetic to the turf.
Okay, interesting statistic.
Fantastic. Fantastic
statistic. We'll go on to the 8th race, an open $16,000 claiming event, a mile and a 16th out on the turf course. And the one Lucky Kitten takes a big drop in class from that open $50,000 condition last time out at Churchill. Even the open $25,000 condition at Saratoga 2 starts back, now drops in for the open $16,000 tag. And this is a type of gelding who I think it might be naturally quick enough to go to the lead, but there's also other speed contenders in here, which I don't know if that's going to be the strategy. That's why I like the fact that he can at least be versatile. He can go to the lead. He's won from off the pace and closing. He actually won an allowance closing from off the pace on the turf too. So I like the versatility, and he's coming out of very strong races.
Yeah, strong races, and I think the drop to the $16,000 level certainly highlights him in this spot. But I like the horse I have in second in here. He's 15-1 on the morning line, and that is Hudson Miracle, stepping up the competition. I thought a couple of sharp turf outings across town. Okay, you're going to see they were against $8,000 types in there. He defeated condition claimers on October 8th, and he was beaten in the nose by open competition in its last start. I'm looking at this as not, some great jump up in competition. I think this is a horse, maybe not win it, but can certainly be on the ticket at a square price.
Okay, that's really nice. I like the price there. The 12 Port Severn is an interesting one for me. Coming out of Woodbine, now going back to the turf. And last time he was on the turf was again against open condition, 32,000 actually. So the race came up relatively tough. Today, the blinkers come off after having them on for the past 2 starts, and he gets Lasix for the first time. But if you look at his turf races, they're actually very consistent. He runs like consistent thirds against tougher company. So again, this is another horse who I think you could get some value on to maybe back yourself up in some exotics. The 3 Main Man Mike is another one I'll be using. It was kind of a slow early pace last time out at the 7.5 furlongs. And again, this is a horse who seems to benefit from stretching out to a route of ground. I'll use him underneath, and you opt for the 8.
Yeah, I went with the 8 Minecraft. Moving to the Alfred McIntosh barn. I think he has a shot to grab part of it here. You know, our stage is right next to the beautiful village of Gulfstream Park, and somebody's cooking something that takes really smells really good. So if you want to come to Gulfstream Park, you got to go to the village and find out where this great smell is coming from.
Maybe you can go find it, and we can have some really good lunch here. All right, race 9, the first half of the late daily double, allowance optional claiming event out to the turf course once again at a mile and a 16th. And this is a contentious race. Honestly, the 5 Ready Dancer with Johnny Velasquez for Let's Go Stable, Todd Pletcher coming out of the Grade 2 Futurity, the Grade 1 Champagne. This horse is going to be very well backed.
Oh, yeah, and they're removing the blinkers on the Son of More Than Ready, and it can turn out to be the controlling speed in this spot this afternoon because the way it was. But both of us went with number 9, Brass Compass, on top of our ticket.
Yeah, and speaking about Ready Dancer, too, and this is kind of the case in point of some of the 2-year-olds that we've seen coming out of the Todd Pletcher barn. They might have not fired early in the fall or late summer at Saratoga, going into the fall up in New York. Todd Pletcher has almost given them time to mature, and then they come back just absolutely firing. I think that's why some of his 2-year-olds are just running lights out as of late. So I wouldn't discount this horse. He clearly was precocious, and he might be one that can continue to develop here as he gets into his 3-year-old season. But the 9 Brass Compass is an interesting one for Eddie Pliza, and this horse has proven turf form. We'll go back and take a look at the final couple of strides of his last replay in the Pulpit Stakes, where Swagger Jagger did repeat in that event. Mountain Man Music, as you can see, was the Mountain Music Man was the 4-5 favorite. He kind of set the pace in that race and then just seemed to falter late. But we see the 9 Brass Compass down on the inside, and he looks just a little bit timid to go through kind of a small gap here. He also, again, finishes well, though, there as of late. Excuse me, sorry, I was watching the wrong horse. But again, he's coming out of tough races, and I think he's going to be in form today.
Horse we talked about earlier, as I like in here, it's the number 12, J.R.'s Holiday, stretching out today an additional 16th of a mile after rallying to finish third. Beaten less than a length. That was in the 1 mile, $75,000 armed forces during October. Jose Garofalo, Emiciel Jaramillo in the saddle. And I like this horse. You know, I think he can grab a share in there. I like his odds in there, and I'm going to use him in all my exotic wages. We, both mentioned the number 5, Ready Dancer, and you have the number 4 in second.
I do. You make some great points on the 12 JR's Holiday, though, and if this horse goes off at maybe double-digit odds, 10-1, even 8-1, I think there's a lot of value there because he was just narrowly beaten behind Stakes Company here at Gulfstream, so he showed an affinity for the course. He likes the turf, and again, you might get an overlay on this horse that you want to use in some multi-race sequences. I use the 4 Little Mo primarily because how good Uncle Mo's progeny has been performing in their 2-year-old season. So again, I'm going to be using him. I think that he can repeat, and he's shown the maturity to stalk, close, and I like to see that at 2 turn distances on the turf, especially.
That is going to be one fun race to bet.
Yeah, there are plenty of options there in race 9. We'll go to the 10th race, the 10th and final race on the card, $6,250,000 dual condition claimer, 1 turn mile on the main track. And I saw this race as maybe 5, 6, 7 horses could win, and you only used 2 in your pick 5.
Well, yeah, I picked 3, but I used 2 on my ticket. And I'll tell you, I like Colemarner on top, the number 7, drop into this level today, condition claiming level. And after drawing clear to defeat a pair of next out winners, it was a $16,000 condition claimers going a 2-turn mile at Gulfstream Park West. The trainer is Albino Rossi, and he's got that 10-pound apprentice, Chris McIntosh, in there. Horse I wouldn't single, but I think this horse is spotted well and can run, against this level of competition and maybe get the job done.
Spotted very well. I could have easily picked this horse on top. I was teetering back and forth between Coal Miner and Stone Crusher here, but I agree with you. I think he showed speed, and he dueled early and then really just kicked on clear under Tyler Gaffleone last time out, and he's a horse that's in very good form, and arguably he's making either a lateral or a class drop move here today, so he's a good one. The 8 Stone Crusher is interesting too. He was well beaten by several other horses that he once again faces today, but I think he could turn the tables on him getting back to a fast track.
Yeah, number 6, the Sundrop Kid, became the only 4-time winner in the field when he notched his second consecutive victory across town. He defeated this level of competition, going miles 70 yards. It was a sealed, sloppy track. Great conditioner, Kathleen O'Connell. So this horse can run well. Good apprentice on there, and has done something that no one else in the race has done. Won 4 times.
One other horse that I used in the mix, the 14 Bishop Sleeves, I'll be using kind of in the pick 6, primarily because Gustavo Delgado first off the claim, good percentages, bats at about 25% there, and finally on the class drop to the lower level the lower level non-winners at 2 lifetime condition last time out. He finally wound up getting a victory, and again, they keep him at the same class level, staying competitive, so maybe one that could show up.
Yeah, I have them on my ticket too, so we'll see how that works out. But I only use those 2 on my late pick 5 ticket.
All right, we've got 10 races on tap, and we are on the turf here. The turf is good. The track is fast. That's enough talking for you and I, at least for right now. We're going to take a quick break, and Larry Colmus will be back shortly with Scratches and Changes. Best of luck.